On June 19, 2026, a horrific incident took place in Edinburgh, Scotland. A young man named Lewis Hawkes allegedly carried out a series of knife attacks targeting Muslims. Reports stated that he moved through the area shirtless while carrying bladed weapons. According to the claims surrounding the case, his motive was tied to extremist views, including a desire for Scotland to become more white and more hostile toward migrants. Naturally, the incident sparked strong reactions from many people. That brings us to this young woman, known as I Live Maya, a black content creator based in Scotland, who also shared her response to what happened.
Serious note, like, some of you need to actually get a grip. How am I now seeing that there's somebody in Edinburgh that was running rampage, stabbing people in Leith? One of the people that he injured was a person of colour. And now, while he's getting arrested, he's shouting that he's trying to save our country and save us from the people, you know, that we shouldn't be letting in. This is getting too much at this point. Come on to Scotland. Are you being serious? This is not really our forte. Pack it in and put it to bed.
That's where the discussion became more complicated. While she was strongly condemning what many described as white extremist violence, some critics accused her of being inconsistent. Their arguments centered on the fact that, based on her social media presence, she appears to be in a relationship with a white man. Because of that, some people questioned her stance. One commenter, Kareem, wrote, "If she has a white boyfriend, stop listening to her. She's choosing her side." For those critics, speaking out against white extremism while dating a white partner seemed contradictory, and Kareem wasn't the only person making that point. Another commenter claimed that being with a white man was the reason she felt more connected to Scottish identity. However, the conversation took another turn when she opened up about a previous relationship with a different white man that eventually ended on bad terms.
He also said the N-word multiple times, and I had to tell him multiple times that you can't say that. But the thing is, he'd always blame it on the fact that he was bilingual and didn't know any better, and that's just how people said it.
She responded by dismissing that criticism entirely, making it clear that she had no interest in taking the comments seriously. As mentioned earlier, she is no longer involved with that particular white boyfriend, for that reason and several others. But another comment soon caught people's attention, and this one came from Godfrey. It's worth noting that she is of mixed heritage, being half Nigerian and half white, while Godfrey is a Nigerian American. It's unclear exactly how he ended up on her page, but it's possible the algorithm recommended her content to him and he became engaged enough with the discussion to leave a comment of his own. His message was simple: "Your boyfriend is white, right?" Naturally, she noticed the remark and decided to respond, giving Godfrey the attention he appeared to be looking for.
Godfrey. What a condescending question. Now, yes, my boyfriend is white. My mother, in fact, is also white. Your logic here, I should be telling my mum to f*** off, telling my boyfriend to f*** off, and also splitting myself down the middle and telling the whole other half of my white self, being mixed race, to f*** off. I should discriminate against white people and not date outside of my race. But my race is mixed race. Hang on. What should I do? Godfrey, you have 2.9 million followers. I'm pretty sure you have something better to be doing with your life than to be asking me if my boyfriend is white. Just because a couple of white people attack black people in Scotland doesn't mean that we discriminate against a whole race. That's what I'm trying to tell the white folk. Don't do that!
Now, that part of the discussion was especially interesting. She was essentially defending her right to identify with her white heritage, pointing out that her mother is white and that it is a part of who she is. Meanwhile, Godfrey's argument seemed to be that if she had already experienced racism in a relationship with a white man, then she should not continue pursuing relationships with white people. That perspective stood out to me because Godfrey had recently hosted David Oyelowo on the 154 podcast. The 154 podcast is heavily centered around African voices. While Black Americans occasionally appear on the show, its primary focus is usually on Africans who have achieved success throughout the diaspora. The podcast presents itself as a platform meant to bring Black people together, and I have no reason to doubt those intentions. In fact, I believe the goal of building unity within the Black community is genuine. I believe that about David Oyelowo, and I believe that about Godfrey and his co-hosts as well. I remember listening to David Oyelowo speak about how he first got into acting and the teacher who played a major role in helping him along the way. Well,
he had been the one who had introduced me to the youth theater that I met my wife doing and where I'd caught the bug.
Now, it's important to point out that David Oyelowo's wife is white. That detail matters because David is widely viewed as someone who strongly supports Black empowerment, Black unity, and the advancement of Black communities. Much of his message centers on encouraging people to think beyond limiting circumstances and focus on greater possibilities for themselves and their communities. And nobody seems to have a problem with David Oyelowo promoting those ideas while being married to a white woman. What's interesting is that the same people questioning this woman about her relationship are not directing those same questions toward David. In particular, Godfrey is not calling attention to the fact that David has a white wife. David has openly discussed issues like racism and white supremacy throughout his career. So by the same logic being applied here, someone could just as easily ask him whether he has ever experienced racism from white men or white women. Most people would probably assume the answer to both questions would be yes. If that's true, then someone could just as easily ask why he chose to marry a white woman. But that's not a question Godfrey appears interested in asking, and that is where the inconsistency becomes difficult to ignore. The standard seems to change depending on who is being discussed. In one case, a Black man can be outspoken about Black issues, marry outside his race, and still be viewed as completely committed to the community. In another case, a mixed-race woman with both Black and white heritage is criticized simply because she is involved with a white partner. That double standard is what stands out to me. It's something I've noticed from certain voices within diaspora discussions, particularly when people begin shifting their arguments to fit a specific narrative. Instead of applying the same principles across the board, the standards change depending on the person involved. I've seen similar situations before. In fact, I recently addressed another creator who completely misrepresented something I said in order to support his own argument. And to me, this situation feels very similar. Often, these conversations are framed around unity and the idea that everyone should rally around a common cause. But then, the rules suddenly change when the circumstances are different. For example, look at some of the debates currently taking place in South Africa regarding undocumented migrants. Supporters of stricter enforcement often argue that public resources, healthcare services, and other government programs are being stretched too thin. Whether people agree or disagree with that position, those are the concerns being raised. Yet sometimes, instead of directly addressing those concerns, the conversation gets redirected entirely. Rather than engaging with the actual argument, the focus shifts to a broader discussion about historical power structures or other unrelated topics. As a result, the original issue never really gets answered. That's why these debates can become frustrating. When people constantly move the goalposts, it creates the impression that the principles being promoted only apply in certain situations. And once that happens, the message starts to lose credibility. If the goal is truly unity across the diaspora, then the standards should be consistent. People should not be praised in one situation and condemned in another for doing essentially the same thing. When that happens, it comes across as selective and insincere. And that's why the contrast here is so striking. Watching someone praise a pro-Black public figure who has been married to a white woman for years while criticizing another person for having a white boyfriend feels contradictory. At the very least, it raises questions about whether the same standards are really being applied to everyone.